everyone? Welcome to Black Men Speak. I'm your co host, J.R. Stewart.
And good evening, everyone. I'm your co-host, Tommy Duncan. Welcome to Black Men Speak, Wednesday, December the 9th, 2020. Welcome, everyone. We hope you're having a great week.
And a big shout out and thanks to Liquid for providing our theme music. And Tom, it's good to be back after being out last week. So, what's our discussion for today?
Well, you know what? There's a lot of good stuff out there, man. But, there's still a lot of news going on politically, and probably one of the more political topics, even though it's more of a medical issue, is this purported coronavirus vaccine. And in particular, as over the last couple of months, a lot of folks, have been talking about the potential efficacy of the vaccine. Is it going to help to finally get us around the corner, not just within the United States, but around the world in terms of taming this virus, getting folks back to a new norm? How long is that going to take? But one of the more provocative issues, Jimmy, is African Americans and the vaccine, and the issue of as to whether black folk actually trust this vaccine enough to take it. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight, and really, Jimmy, it kind of speaks to not just the African American community and the prospect of whether and why they should take this vaccine, but more importantly, trust within the medical community.
Well, there's a lot there to digest, Tom, and I hope for the sake of people's health that they take the vaccine regardless of any suspicions you may have or doubts that you may have. It may be best to be safe than sorry in this case.
Well, Jimmy, that's very, it depends on who you talk to. I mean, quite frankly, there are a lot of folks, everyday citizens, folks who have been impacted by that directly or indirectly, and even folks within the medical community. Even though obviously the medical community is pushing for this vaccine, when it does become available, to be available to everyone, um, I think one of the biggest challenges has been getting folks in black and brown communities to actually volunteer to be, I guess, early takers in terms of going through this process of getting the vaccine out to market. And there are a lot of folks who just don't trust it.
Yeah, there are a lot of folks who don't trust it, Tom. That's certainly unfortunate. But like I said, I don't know if we have any other options at this point.
Gotcha, gotcha. And I'm getting a note right now, Jimmy, that I don't know if there's something going on, but someone can't hear me. Okay, now they say I can hear JR, not Tommy. So it looks like, Jimmy, they can hear you, but not me. But you can hear me, right, Jimmy?
I hear you quite well. Actually, the comment I got was that they could hear you, but it was really low.
Okay. Now that's interesting. All right, I turned the mute on and off. Let me turn the volume up a little bit and see if that's going to help a little bit. Hopefully, they can hear me a little bit better now.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to continue to talk on this subject, but I mean, when we talk about this, this is really, when you look at the topic of, you still cannot hear me, Jimmy, so I'm not
I tell you what. Let me check on this side and see if there's anything we missed on our checks today. I don't think there was, but let me check.
All right, I turned the mute off. If I have to, I can turn the microphone
Try to turn the microphone off and on. See if that makes a difference. But I hear you quite well though, and the listening audience should be able to hear what I hear.
Okay. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna under. All right. Can you hear me, Jimmy?
Yes, I can.
All right. Hopefully, this is probably not going to be as clear as it is to you, Jimmy. And I know it typically takes a couple of minutes before it gets a little bit clearer, but hopefully, um, this will help a little bit
Okay.
and see if everyone else
Well, the chat is a good backup. That is true.
Cannot hear Tommy. Okay, let's.
Still,
All right, let me try this one more time. I'm gonna plug in everything. All right. All right, Jimmy, can you hear me?
yes, I can.
Okay, let's try this one more time.
I mean, the soundboard here has. I mean, I can see the indicator moving every time you talk. I'm not sure why it's not streaming out. If that's the case, let's see.
Yeah, and unfortunately, as one of our denizens who's listening said, I don't know sign language, so I can't. Unfortunately, I can't do sign language because I don't know it.
I wonder if there's just one user. Do we have a second user that can? Oh, the second you say is very low.
Okay, all right. Well, I guess low is better than no, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the volume up a little bit, and maybe that helps some.
Do you have an adjuster for your mic where you can turn it all the way up?
Yes, I'm doing that now.
Okay.
I already turned it up as high as I possibly can, and so hopefully it says still low, and hopefully that will help us out here.
Let me turn things up on the.
Yeah, maybe it's on your side, Jimmy, because I know you can hear me very well.
So I have all of the sound settings for mic turned up as high as possible.
Okay.
Okay, Veronica says you're still low.
Okay. All right. So let's. I don't know. I'll try here. I guess low is better than no. So trying to think of one more thing. Maybe that helps a little bit.
Um, hey, go to your Google Meet and check your settings there to make sure that's. Well, I guess I wouldn't hear you if it didn't. But try to mute and maybe unmute it from Google Meet. See if that makes a difference.
Okay. I just muted and unmuted. I don't know if that helps now.
Still sounds the same to me. Sounds great.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it sounds very crisp on this side. I'm not exactly sure what the issue is. I'm going to go to settings and see if that helps us a little bit. Audio. Okay, stereo. Hmm. Looks like. Alrighty.
There's a call.
Seems to be testing very well on this side. I'm not exactly sure what's happening.
Yeah, and our streaming signal is great also. CPU is low. The throughput rate is very good. Hmm.
Okay. Well, Jimmy, we may have to, short of continuing to figure this thing out, is continue to talk through the show. And maybe if I speak a little bit louder, if I speak a little bit louder, maybe we can just continue and hopefully figure this thing out.
Okay, well let's just do that. Sorry to have to put you through that. I know it's not. It's hard in the throat when you have to speak up really loud like that and push your voice. But let's just do what we can. So, also, if you want to join the conversation, the phone line is open, the chat line is open, and what's the phone number? 972 497 2280 if you want to join in the conversation. You can also send us your text message, and we'll be glad to have you share your thoughts.
All right, so let's unpack this, Jimmy. Let's be honest. I mean, we're talking about, I believe today, for the first time, we have reached 3,000 deaths in one day of coronavirus. As of today, I believe we now have a total of 285,000 deaths in the United States, and over 15 million cases recorded to date since I believe legitimate concerns, Jimmy. I mean, if we go back to our august history in this country and we look at the medical community, largely supported by the government, and black people, it has not been a very comfortable story. I mean, whether we talk about the Tuskegee experiment, which practically I think everyone knows, a 40-year experiment in which in essence, the government through the healthcare community did a 40-year experiment on black men where they were injected with the syphilis, um, with syphilis, and were literally untreated for 40 years. And unfortunately, this ruined a lot of lives, killed a lot of these men. It was in Alabama, rural Alabama, by the way. Their wives, their children were infected with syphilis. And it wasn't until this record so that the government stopped doing these experiments. And this is a traumatic effect. And so
Well,
people are feeling some way about this, Jimmy.
yeah, Tom. Well, I mean that is true. I mean you certainly have the facts correct. I just don't know if the end result is correct. I don't know if black men are not going to doctors and keeping up with their health because of what happened in the past. I think that's just part of the social programming that black men find themselves being conditioned to not go to doctors, to avoid bad news and just rough it out or man it out and get through whatever it is that you have to get through, unless you're near death. When you're near death, then of course it's time to go to seek medical treatment. But you are correct about the historical element of all of this. But I would say this, Tom, there are forces here in the country that certainly do not want black people to take the vaccine. They're more than happy with blacks not taking the vaccine and continuing to die at a larger rate than other groups of people. So we need to be aware of what we accept to be true and what we operate on. And I would say this, that take the vaccine unless you know for certain that there are ill effects, side effects that are more detrimental than the virus itself. We know what the virus, if you catch it, can do to some black people who have pre-existing conditions, heart problems, diabetes, high blood pressure. It will kill you. So unless the side effects of the vaccine is death, then go ahead and roll the dice and take it. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know if it's at this point if it's a bandwidth issue from maybe from the site that you're at, but I don't imagine that it could be, since I hear you quite well. Um, yeah, I don't know if you do. You want to postpone and maybe pick this topic back up next week, and maybe take a look at our settings because everything is maxed out. But your mic, my mic, is at the highest setting that it can be. I'm pretty sure you're picking up. People say they're picking up. They can hear me breathe, but the mic is pushed away from it as far as possible, and it's still picking up ambient sound. So, and, and then I even kind of hear a little echo in my headphone that I'm using. So, and then you have headphones also. So,
Right.
so
Yeah. The only other option I would have, Jimmy, is to unplug the microphone and obviously just use the computer. I know that typically,
that creates a little echo,
yeah, it
but
could create a little echo.
give it a shot and see what happens. I mean, we don't have anything to lose at this point. Unmute yourself.
All right. Hopefully, this helps out a little bit, and people will be able to hear me a little bit better now that I have the headphones off. And let's see if folks can hear us now.
Oh, um, somebody suggested that maybe you call into the show on on your cell phone, but the calls are going to your cell phone, so that wouldn't necessarily work, now would it?
Yep. Yep. Gotcha. Gotcha. So yeah, it looks like I'm not exactly sure what is happening. Last week obviously everything went pretty well, but I'm not exactly sure what's happening this week.
Okay. Yeah, I mean our mics are maxed out, man. I mean I even hear back through my headphones, which I shouldn't be able to do, but that's only because the mic is turned up so high.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, why don't we do this? If we could possibly, we might be able to have. I don't know if anybody would be able to hear, or if we would be able to hear if someone called in or not. And I definitely don't want to have someone call in if we can't hear them.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let me do this. Let me call your cell phone, and I'll put you on speaker.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All righty. In that case, maybe this helps a little bit, and we can do this on both. What I can do is mute on this end, so we won't have an echo.
Yes.
Okay, so there's going to be a little bit of delay, but we're trying to minimize the effect of the echo.
We're still getting an echo, Tom. So you may have to totally disable your mic.
Okay, I've turned the mic off, so the mic is not even. I'm muted.
The mic on your computer.
Okay,
You may just have to use a cell phone.
all right.
Or mute yourself. Okay, you are muted on Google Meet.
Correct.
Okay, so I think the echo is going away now.
All right. And I'm turning the volume down. I've turned the volume down on my computer. Hopefully that helps a little bit.
Okay, well, I hope. Let's see. So,
I don't hear an echo anymore, so that hopefully that helps a little bit.
I don't hear an echo, and I hope they can hear you through my cell phone.
All right, let's keep it moving and see what we can make out of the rest of the time that we have, and then we'll have to figure out technically what we need to fix for the next show.
Okay. So, but like I said,
So anyway,
I'll share my opinion, man.
and,
I think folks need to take the vaccine. So let's put the past behind us. Let's not advance nefarious actions from stupid people in the past to today when people's lives are on the line, especially when this is going to hit black people more than hit anybody else. Only because we're probably the
well,
most
it already
unhealthy people.
has. It already has with hit black people, black and brown people more than it did any other community.
So my concern is that whether they're going to make it available to the most people who have the highest risk first. Yeah, I mean the British are already vaccinating their people, and we still have not released it for general availability. It hadn't gone GA here in America yet, and when it does, Black folks and brown folks need to be the front of the line.
Well, this is true, but for what it's worth, I don't believe that the least served communities will ever become the most served, or at least even reach a state of parity. I mean, for what it's worth, Jimmy, when this virus was hitting black and brown communities at exponentially high rates relative to the mainstream community, it seemed to be bearable. But once it began to hit mainstream America, then we started taking a little bit more aggressive measures in terms of how we're dealing with this. So I quite frankly don't expect the government, I don't expect the medical community to somehow turn face and somehow make this solution, if it is a solution, available to those who they've been underserving for all of this period of time. And all of a sudden put them to the front of the line. I mean, I hope that's the case, Jimmy. I think you have a little bit more confidence than I do that these folks are going to do what's right as opposed to do what's green.
Tom, it's not that I have more faith in them. I expect us to speak up. I mean, this is something that we can't be silent and just shove our heads in sand and wish it goes away or doesn't affect us. So this is a case where we need to make our voices known. We can speak up for other things that are nonsensical, but now this involves health and life and death. So this is the thing you need to speak, be willing to speak up, and be willing to be very loud about it. I mean, this is not even a race issue. It's not, it's not a resource issue. The vaccines are available. They produced them. We've paid for them as a country, and the government has promised that the people who were the most who had the most need were going to be at the front of the line. So we need to hold them to that. And if we don't, then that's on us.
I would agree, but it's a matter of power. It's a matter of leverage and power. And quite frankly, when you look at the United States, black folk in particular have the least amount of leverage and the least amount of power. At the end of the day, the question is, where is your bullet bit? Where is your platform? I mean, literally everything that black folks have achieved in this country, they have had to bleed and die, hang for, literally. So all that being said is, I think that there will be a few bones thrown, but in terms of there being parity, in terms of there being equity, I just don't see that. I would agree with you that we have got to fight until hell freezes over, and then we've got to fight on the ice. But at the end of the day, it's about leverage. It's about power. We have to have broader platforms, stronger platforms. We have to go on the extreme in anything that we're going to get. And the question is, what's the strategy and how to do that? Because nobody's going to do anything out of the goodness of their heart.
Well, Tom, if we can go to the streets to fight and protest somebody being, killed by a white law enforcement officer, this has the greater potential to affect and kill more people than all of the all of the white police killings in the history of America. We're talking about thousands upon thousands versus, 8, 9, 10 deaths every year. So if we can't speak up for what's most important, then once again, that's on us. If we're not at the front of the line, then we need to go to the streets to protest. We need to let them know that our voices need to be heard. You promised us this. We are the most vulnerable. You said that those groups are going to go first, the elderly and those with pre-existing conditions and poor health and the most vulnerable. So if you can't keep your word on this, then why should we trust you on anything else? And then if you're not going to keep your word, then we're going to protest and make our voices heard to let you know that we're going to hold you accountable. That you're not going to just get away with pushing us to the side, promising us one thing and then doing something else.
Well, I mean, you have an interesting point there. I would say that, I mean, you're talking about life and death here, and, that is worth fighting for. The question, and I even say the question when it comes to protesting the violence of law enforcement community against black communities or the over policing of black communities, how effective the protesting is. Obviously, it brings awareness, but in terms of bringing results, bringing change, that's another question altogether. And so, protesting might be one vector. The question is it going to be the most effective method in order to get change?
I think it will be, Tom. I mean, I have 6 people in my family who have died from the COVID virus. And I know that every black person in America has at least one person that's in their family or they know who's died from this. So this is not something that we can just look the other way on and say, oh, well, they promised us this and they're not going to deliver. This is something worth going to the street and fighting for. So, and if we're not willing to do that, then that says a whole lot about us as a people.
Well, this is true, and I think that's another conversation. That is another show when it comes to priorities, when it comes to culture, when it comes to how we are using our financial, intellectual, and related resources to use. I mean, for what it's worth, we are divided a lot of ways, but in terms of how we're using our time, how we're using our energy, and how we're using our money, that's a whole different conversation. But I would agree with you on that.
Okay. Well, I'd like to hear from those who are on the chat line or who may want to call in and give us their viewpoint and let us know, guys, whether you guys are planning on taking the vaccine or you're going to wait and see how it goes first and maybe take it later or just not take it all together.
I guess the question is, what phone would they be able to call into? Obviously, since I'm calling on my line to you.
That is a good question. I guess they can call
You know,
on.
unless it can be forwarded to another number
Well,
that
they
they can
can,
dial
but
into.
not like
And then,
midstream. And I mean, that would just take some
gotcha.
programming on the PBX to do that. And but
Right
if you do get a
now,
phone
what?
call, I mean, you can switch over and talk to them, and then just come back. Um,
Or I
and
could just merge the call. If I could possibly merge the call.
oh, you can merge the call. There you go. And like I said, the
Yeah,
chat line is still
absolutely.
open. Also, people, you can send us your information on your intent if you want to share with everyone. I'm on record. I'm going to take the vaccine as soon as it's available. Uh,
Now, I'm on the record. As soon as Jimmy takes the vaccine and lets me know how it works, then I'll be just.
well, after I take it, man, like I said, I may walk out without a mask, and I may have to not have to worry about social distancing. I may go out and celebrate if I have a little protection at that point, but we'll see. But I would definitely take it as soon as it becomes available. Uh, one of the person in the chat line, Veronica, says she's gonna wait. She won't take it unless she says she won't take it unless she's forced to.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
she's gonna
I mean,
wait to see if I
yeah,
live
but
also.
you know what? I'm basically what she's gonna do with Jimmy is what a lot of people are gonna do. Is what they've been doing. That means social distancing, doubling up on their mask, staying in the house, having Amazon or whomever to deliver their groceries and everything else that they need, and making sure they stay out of harm's way. That is what a lot of folks are doing because, quite frankly, they don't trust the system. They don't trust the medical community, and they certainly don't trust a lot of those people out here who are not wearing masks and trying to blow all of them, talking about they have the right to do whatever they want to, and then the next week they ask for people's prayers because either them or their mother or their father got COVID, and now they're asking people to pray for them when they were out there without a mask breathing all over people.
Now, hey man, now it just hit me that all you guys are waiting for me to take it. What does that say about your care for me? That you're going to send me out there to be the test and the guinea pig. Why isn't someone trying to stop me from taking the vaccine?
Because you've already committed to doing it. There's nothing we can do. You
I'm
know,
just saying, if you
you
care
know when
enough
you
about
that
your health that you think there's a problem and you don't want to take it, why aren't you trying to stop me from taking it? Is my point.
gotcha. Well, hey, they said you,
Man, I'm not feeling the
they
love
said,
around here,
you
family.
know
I'm
you.
just letting y'all know that y'all gladly let me go out and take the vaccine and then take a wait and see attitude. And nobody's even trying to say, hey, Jimmy, you need to wait also.
Well, Jimmy, they said you've already they said you've already made your decision. We have another listener says, you know what? It's the testing and development process is moving too fast. They just don't feel that it's going to be fully vetted, and that it may have possibly some side effects that they're not prepared to deal with.
Well, we
Okay,
don't know
so
the side
again,
effects until people take it. I mean, that's how you determine what the side effects are. You put a bunch of people on it, and then they start reporting back that they have headaches or uncontrolled bowel movements or all this other craziness that they get from these medicines, and then you develop the
Yep.
side effect list.
Right, right. And so I think, what most people are doing is, Jimmy, you have to remember that in our community, we typically are going to err on the side of being a little bit more conservative. And so folks, I mean, just like back in the day, you know, instead of investing in the stock market, folks just got insurance. We're kind of lax when it comes to certain things. We're a little bit on the more conservative end as a community, with the exception of certain social issues. And so this is one of those issues where folks are going to step back and wait to see how Ken and Becky and all these other folks do. And then if they come out of it clean, then after their friends come out of it clean, then they might consider things.
Yeah, that seems to be the consensus here, Tom. And if the rest of Black America is indicative of the folks here, I don't think too many Black people are going to be taking the vaccine anytime soon. Um, So
Right.
I guess me and a few other guinea pigs will go out there and do our part to be the testers for black people, because you need a few to at least take it to make sure that it's safe for us. So I guess I'll do my part for the rest of you guys. I'll lay my life down for the rest of you guys.
There you go. Jimmy, we'll be rooting y'all. We got your back.
Boy, my family, man. Look how y'all treat me.
We'll get there, man. We say, hey, man, how'd it go?
So are there any other concerns about the vaccine besides most folks are going to
Just,
take a wait and see
I
attitude?
mean, I think the biggest thing, that a lot of folks, are saying is just, in general, people, quite frankly, because of the speed at which it's gotten out, not really having enough data on the side effects, how effective it's going to be. People are just a little bit nauseous about being on the front lines. It's not something they're very passionate about, unless they're probably on the last leg of their life. And this is probably the last chance they have of living. They ain't trying to trust it right now.
Now we got an interesting message on the chat line here. Um, Someone says I should get paid for this. Y'all should be giving me a
Well, hey,
GoFundMe page, man. And I think I like this chat here that we'll get you a testing gift. Forget the gift. Give me a GoFundMe page and put money in it. Since I'm
oh, we're gonna do a GoFundMe now. Huh?
Yeah, I'm thinking a GoFundMe is better than a gift. So that way I have some flexibility here. And I'm doing this. Since I'm making this supreme sacrifice for black people, for my peeps and my family. I don't see why I shouldn't get paid to go out and do it.
Absolutely, man. You put your life on the line, man. So all these black folks who died on these experimental drugs that mainstream America and the government has been testing for this man. I mean, you even look at the man who's considered to be the father of gynecology, J. Marion Sims, another Alabama guy who literally brutalized, black slave women by running all of these experiments on them in order to create what he calls the field of gynecology. And so, I mean, at a minimum, hey, I wouldn't be opposed to you being able to get a couple of greenbacks, you being on the front line.
And since we're talking about GoFundMe page time, it can't be just a few dollars or the change in the bottom of your purse or whatever in you left over after you came from the club. Since we're talking about life and death here, your life and death, I'm hoping that the amount of the contribution would be commensurate with how you value yourself and your life.
Yeah, Jimmy, and also someone brought a very good point. They just said, make sure your insurance policy is paid up.
Man, like I said, man, I'm not. I'll measure the love by how many dollars I have in the GoFundMe page. If it's sitting on zero and I have to go take the test, that's gonna let me know how much love I'm receiving here.
Yeah, yeah, they said right now, just make sure your insurance policy is paid up.
So here's the other thing, Tom, is that if we're going to take a wait and see, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, as long as you continue to social distance, stay at home, quarantine yourself as much as possible. Only go out if you absolutely have to. Wash your hands frequently. Then there's a good chance that you can survive without the vaccine. But with that being said, it would also help by improving your health. If you have health conditions like I do, I mean, I suffer with some heart problems and some blood pressure issues. Well, I used to. My blood pressure has got in check now. I no longer have to take medication for it. But these are things we have to constantly work on to improve our health. We're not the healthiest people in America, which is why this virus has been so devastating to us more than other groups. But certainly, this is a wake up call, people. We all need to join together and work on improving our health. We just can't take it for granted anymore.
Yes, Jimmy. I mean, at the end of the day, regardless of whether we're talking about the coronavirus or any other viral infection that you have, the stronger that your immune system is, the better a chance you have. And the reality of it is, I mean, that is the first line of defense that you have is your immune system more so than anything else. There are certain things you can do, clearly, make sure you pay attention to what the, credible doctors, are saying. But man, there is nothing that is going to protect you more than having a strong immune system, which comes down to, what type of diet you're dealing with, making sure that you get enough rest, because at the end of the day, your immune system is also dependent on getting an adequate amount of rest and obviously getting a moderate amount of exercise. You have three or four pros that are going to help make that happen, Jimmy. So I mean, that is the ultimate vaccine with this virus and every other virus is having a strong, effective immune system.
Well, that's true, Tom. And make sure you get outside and get some and generate some vitamin D for your body. We actually need that probably a little bit more than other folks. So, and we have limited sunlight now. So, and then when you quarantine and staying inside, you can mess around and not get any sunlight for days.
Absolutely, and quite frankly, there have been some medical studies that have shown that vitamin D does help strengthen the system. I mean, the human body's immunity to the coronavirus as well.
Well, vitamin C and zinc. So yeah, make
Right,
sure you
and vitamin D as well.
yeah.
Vitamin D3 and D as well.
So yes, take your vitamins, especially vitamin C. Take you some zinc. Sip on it. I mean, suck on it every day. I take the little lozenges, which are great. So, and then I take packets of an emergency, and which makes a really nice drink. But whatever you take, yeah, stay on top of those during this season. Also, someone mentioned that yeah, it is flu season also. So now we have two viruses we're dealing with. You may get weakened from the common flu and then mess around and die from the COVID virus. So it could be a double whammy. So that's another reason I'm staying inside during this period, trying to go outside to because the influenza is an airborne virus also.
Absolutely, absolutely, Jimmy. So I guess as we wrap up, it looks like we are
A little
kind
bit
of
over time.
running short on time now. Yep, yep, we're kind of running short on time, but let's go ahead and kind of round this out and close out the conversation. And then what we can do is kind of plan for next week and see where that takes us.
Okay. Well, like I said, we want to thank you guys for joining us today. Please like, share, and subscribe. Not necessarily in that order, but make sure you do all three and help us grow the channel. The last 2 weeks have been really, really great. We appreciate the energy that you guys are offering, especially on the chat line. So we pay a lot more attention to our chat line than we did before because a while back, Tom, we had no activity on the chat line. So, and now we're getting some
Right.
good feedback. So, the next thing, guys, is we need y'all to come join the conversation. So, to call into the chat line, the phone line, and offer your comments. So, and we'll work out whatever the technical difficulties were with this show. So we apologize. So we got to kind of figure this out. What happened from last week to this week before we lost some of our audio. But Tom, why don't you go ahead and say what you have to say and then close us out with a prayer. And don't forget to include the ancestors.
All right. We want to thank everyone for joining us this evening, Wednesday night, 9 o'clock, while we like we do every week, to present Black Men Speak, where we talk about some of the most provocative topics and issues in our community. So we want to thank you again, our special guest, for joining us tonight. We thank you for your contribution. We thank you for your thoughts. Do remember that if there are certain topics that you would like to hear us share our thoughts on, please do not hesitate to let us know. Otherwise, as Jimmy stated, do please like, do please subscribe, and join us next week as we come up with another thought-provoking conversation that is affecting our communities. And before we close tonight, we will have a brief prayer. So if everyone could bow silently and reverently, Father, we thank you for bringing us here again so that we can bond together and so that we can share and talk about those things that are affecting us, our families, and our lives on a daily basis. We ask you will continue to strengthen us, that you will continue to unify us, and that you will continue to govern the direction of our lives. And Father, we thank you for our ancestors, those who came before us, those whose shoulders we stand on, and those who paid the price so that we would have the opportunity to be here today, to live in one of the greatest eras in human history. Father, we understand that we are a part of that sleeping giant that you are expecting and preparing us to awaken. So we thank you, we appreciate you, and we magnify you. And in your precious name we pray. Amen. All right, folks, we thank you again. Join us again next Wednesday, 9 o'clock p.m. for Black Men Speak. Have a great weekend.